Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Secret Base figure preview video. Before we begin, I have to say a massive thank you to Ryan Kirkwood for going out in person and snapping these stunning high-res pictures. Show Ryan some love in the comments down below because without him, this series literally wouldn't be possible. If you are looking to pre-order either the Sandtrooper Sergeant by himself, the Dewback by itself, or both in the same package, all of those variations are available from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have pay in 4 and a loyalty program. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new figure preview video goes live on the channel. Now, I had the privilege of seeing this thing in person at ACGHK, essentially Hong Kong's version of Comic-Con, and it's huge. I shit you not. This case, this location where they have the Dewback on display, this entire cabinet can fit the entire Endgame line. So you can have Luke and Leia and Han and Chewbacca and Darth Vader and the Emperor and a bunch of Stormtroopers, or you can have one Dewback and one Sandtrooper. I get it, it's cool if you have room, and if you do, I am so envious. I'm going to get this to review. After that, who knows where it's going to go. It's probably just going to sit in storage. It's a monster piece. It's very impressive. It's an eye-catching piece for sure. I just don't think it's worth the trade-off. If you can fit an entire line of Star Wars character, essentially like the whole of the Clone Wars, or one Dewback, which one would you go for? I am picking the line of main characters all day long, every day of the week. Now, you can spruce this up a little bit by putting the Mandalorian or someone else on top of the Dewback. Still, I don't think it hits quite as hard as an entire Mandalorian line or an entire Book of Boba Fett line. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, you know what I'm saying at this point, let's move on. I do like that you can buy the Sandtrooper separately, so if you don't have room for the Dewback, but you missed out on the first Sandtrooper and you want the White Pauldron version, luckily you can buy him separately. Oh, and same thing for the Dewback. If you already have the Orange Pauldron Sandtrooper and you want to pop him on the Dewback, or maybe Mando, or like I said, someone else, you can just get the Dewback on its own. There are 4 different SKUs here. You can get the normal Dewback, you can get the deluxe version of the Dewback with the interchangeable lower jaw so the mouth is closed, and a different front leg, which is more straight versus bent. It's a bit of a weird choice. For me, I would have thought that you could buy the Dewback separately, you could buy them together, or you could buy the Sandtrooper separately. The weird 4th SKU of the normal/deluxe Dewback, I don't think that level of granularity was important. They should have just had one style of Dewback with all the parts and pieces. You do get multiple different blaster rifles, we have seen both of these before. I do like the heavy repeating version with the twin drum barrels. That's a really sick looking weapon. They're all painted well, silver dry brushing, gunmetal, they look fantastic. Now this is that swap out leg I was talking about. It's the front right leg. It's straighter, you can still see a lot of detail. There's wrinkles, skin texture, it's nice and scaly. There are washers in all the scales, so they're nice and highlighted. And the nails are well done. They're a different color to the rest of the foot/leg. This is the interchangeable lower jaw, so the top part that's black, you're just supposed to ignore that. This is like a mock-up of sorts, just meant to show you what it would look like in situ on the Dewback when you install it. Would you have preferred this, what they did with the swap out lower jaw, or just an opening mouth? Yes, it might not have looked as clean. Then again, you do have the bridle through its mouth, so you wouldn't really have seen all of the gapping because there are harnesses there to hide it anyway. The teeth are well done, they look really janky, they're kind of jagged and crooked, but I like that for this style of dinosaur-esque creature. The eyes do have a gloss to them, so they poke out amongst the scales, which are also kind of glossy, but not as glossy as the eyes. You can see what I mean, it's here in front of you. And there's some lighter shading on the surface, just around his lips, down below under the jaw, and then they've gone ahead and hit the high spots. And that, coupled with the washes in the sunken-in recesses and in the craggly reptilian skin, there is a lot of depth to the paint applications here, and I really like the way it looks. He does have multiple different styles of fur up on top. I don't think that's Dewback fur. You'll have to let me know down in the comments below. My Dewback anatomy is not fantastic. This, I think, is just part of the saddle. I could be totally wrong on that, and this could be the Dewback's actual fur. I'm very curious to find out. There's green fur, there's some brown fur, you've got the straps and the harnesses and the bags, the saddle. This is made up of multiple different styles and pieces of fabric. The bags do look a little bit fuzzy too, so I'd go so far as to say that they're a faux fur as well. Overall, I've got no complaints with the way the saddle area looks. In fact, the Dewback as a whole looks pretty darn fantastic. It's just the size that's the sticking point for me. Seeing this thing in person, it is majestic. I don't want to come across as though this is something that I'm not interested in. Oh, I am. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I love my creatures. Jabba, Tauntauns, Dewbacks in this instance, Blurgs. The bigger the better when it comes to Star Wars creatures, as long as you have room to display these darn things. And the Dewbacks get around too. We've seen them in animation, we've seen them in the TV shows, we've seen them in the original trilogy and in the prequel trilogy. Did we see them in the sequel trilogy? It's been a while since I've watched those films, and right now I don't have any inclination to go back and watch them. Still, if you have a Star Wars display, and I want to stress this just one more time, and you have room for this thing, chances are you're probably gonna want to pick this piece up. It is a very iconic creature in the Star Wars universe. I don't want to come across like I hate this thing, truly I don't. It's a sick looking piece. Then again, maybe you don't want this. Maybe you don't like Star Wars creatures, or you like them, but you just don't collect them, and that's a rabbit hole you haven't chosen to go down. Maybe you collect dioramas from Jazz Inc. Maybe you collect vehicles from Jazz Inc. Maybe you collect vehicles from Hot Toys. Maybe you just want main characters. Totally understand, then in this instance, this won't be for you. At the very least, you can get the Sandtrooper separately, and that's something I hope to see going forward. We do not want a repeat of the Bark Speeder incident. Having to get both versions of the Bark Speeder, the same vehicle essentially, twice, just to get both versions of the Clone Troopers. At the end of the day, most of us are 1/6 scale action figure collectors. We're not just vehicle collectors. So I don't think that you should be punished for only wanting the figures, seeing as though that is Hot Toys' bread and butter. It ain't vehicles, I can tell you that right now. In any given year, they'll release between 60 to 80 1/6 scale figures. For vehicles, you're lucky to get 2 or 3, and that includes creatures, that includes cars, speeders, and motorcycles. From that perspective, it kind of makes sense that you would sell the figures separately. Like I said, make this a thing, Hot Toys. Sell your creatures, sell your vehicles, that's fine. People will pick them up if they have space for them. But if they don't, I reckon they should still have the opportunity to pick up the characters that you're pairing with these creatures and vehicles. Because 9 times out of 10, you're collecting 1/6 scale figures, you're not going down the rabbit hole of collecting these big, monster statement pieces, at least not all the time. Wow, what a detour. I am so sorry. Let's get back to talking about the Dewback. The skin texture is great, there's plenty of shading here, I like the different colour for the nails, the wrinkling looks good, and the seams, while they are there, they're not super in-your-face visible and ugly. I think they're hidden well enough in the craggly look of the skin texture for the reptilian-style scales. I don't think your eye's necessarily going to go to the seams. I am curious to see if this does have a ton of articulation, a little, or none at all. We'll have to wait and see when this thing eventually releases. I wouldn't be surprised if it was made from the same material as the Blurg, though. If you've never handled a Hot Toys creature before, it's kind of like the material they use for their display bases, the big diorama style ones. It's this softer, rubbery vinyl, I think at least is the best way to describe what's going on here. If you've ever held a Hot Toys diorama style display base or a creature before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That semi-squishy, hollow style material that's heavy but not overly so. It almost feels like the old school character shampoo bottles. I don't mean to put this thing down, it's going to be great in person. For a display piece, stunning. The material choice always is a bit of a head scratcher. Enough about the Dewback, let's move on to the Sandtrooper. It's been a while. We haven't had a Sandtrooper for a very long time. And no, I'm not counting the Jeddah Patrol Stormtroopers from Rogue One. They're a different breed of troopers altogether. This is proper, Retro, A New Hope Stormtrooper goodness, and I am so here for it. The armor is well sculpted, they've dusted off the molds from back in the day, it would seem. I don't think they've made any changes, but that's fine with me. It's got this very retro feel about it, and that is right up my alley. Got a couple of pouches here and there, and he is just so freaking dirty. He is disheveled. He's completely filthy. You've got washers in all the little sculpted areas, you've got this speckling of dirt and grime on the surface, and it just works so well. This guy, he looks like he's been riding around on a dewback for a while on the sands of Tatooine. That's the look they were going for, they nailed it. And the undersuit is pure spandexy fabric, so you can go crazy with the posing, you can have him on the dewback long term. You can see it right around the top of his thigh armor. That's just stretchy spandex. You can do whatever you want with this guy, and he is not going to tear, crease, have damage on the suit. It's going to be just fine. He also has his backpack on, and I am curious to see if this is the same backpack from the first Sandtrooper. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, they've literally just dusted off the molds for the first one, made a couple of tweaks and changes to the soft goods for the pouches and belts, and called it a day. They've also painted the pauldron white, I might add. You also get the little gasket that in the movie, the Sandtrooper picks up and he's like, "Look, sir, droids," and he holds it up. That's that gasket. So you get it, and if you have the orange pauldron Sandtrooper, now you can go ahead and recreate that scene. This guy has a lot more going on as compared to that orange pauldron Sandtrooper. He's got some ammo pouches down on his belt and up on the opposing side to the pauldron. That's all pleather, at least for now. Maybe when the final product comes out, they'll update it to leather. I hope they do, because we all want these things to last as long as possible. And for certain characters, they have been giving them real leather straps and harnesses and bits and pieces. With Crosshair most recently, unfortunately, I got it wrong and I said that was pleather. It's not, it's real leather. His harness piece, that is genuine leather. So I'm hoping they do the same for this pauldron and the little ammo pouches. If you've ever had a Death Trooper specialist or a Stormtrooper with one of these pauldrons on, and you have the helmet tilted down so the bottom of it is rubbing up against the pauldron, chances are you've moved the helmet up recently and oh no, the pleather, it's stuck to the underside of the helmet. That pleather material, it's essentially just a surface layer of printed detail, which has been bonded to a fabric membrane of sorts that makes up the overall structure of the pauldron. Kind of like a sponge, so when they apply that layer of pleather, the print work on the surface, it's supposed to stick down really nice and tight to the fabric underneath. However, when you add friction to the mix, you're moving the helmet around, it's sitting on top of the pauldron, it's starting to stick to it thanks to humidity and heat and just the climate in general. When you move the helmet back up, oh, that surface layer is no longer going to be sticking down to the fabric membrane, it is going to be sticking to the plastic. It's just the way that pleather works, unfortunately, and the sooner Hot Toys moves away from pleather, the better. They could even sculpt the pauldron out of solid plastic. We've seen them do that with the pauldrons on Clone Troopers. Why have they not done that for Stormtroopers? Oh, I have no idea. Hot Toys, they contradict themselves all the time. The helmet with the black strip moved up so it looks a little bit goofy, that is so accurate, it's not even funny, and I love it. It's very Sandtrooper specific. So if you're wondering if you can get this guy, take off all the extra pouches and the pauldron and the backpack and then just have a normal Stormtrooper, you can, but you are going to be stuck with the goofy looking helmet and all the weathering. I am hoping that eventually we do get like a 2-pack of just clean original trilogy Stormtroopers like they used to do back in the day, because collectors starting off right now with their Star Wars collections, they have no chance of getting some clean classic Stormtroopers at a reasonable price. Stormtroopers, regular white clone troopers, they should not be exclusives and they should not be hard to get. Those, they're just the basics, they're the army builders. If there were ever going to be figures that Hot Toys had available ready to go all the time, it should be those army builder style characters, clone troopers, stormtroopers, you know, those kind of characters that fill out the ranks in your display. Maybe they'll do that one day. Right now, this guy is up for pre-order and I cannot wait to get another Sandtrooper. The dewback, well, if I can fit him into the display, then hell yes. If not, unfortunately, this bad boy is ending up in storage. Now, I pre-ordered mine with toyswonderland.com, link for that is in the description below. They have Pay in 4 and a loyalty program. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.